Everybody hear me? Okay, I don't know how I was introduced, but my name is Dr. Jaime Feldman. I'm a hypnotherapist, a medical hypnotherapist. And I do hypnotherapy practically all over the world. I teach in Japan. I also teach in the United States, of course, in New Jersey. I have a school. Right now with COVID, we closed down the school for a while, but I have 2 full-time practices in New Jersey and 1 here in the villages. And now I spend 60% of my time here in the villages, and I help people. How do I help people? People who have depression, 30, 40 years, and they're on medication, nothing helps them. They come to me in 2 to 5 sessions, they are completely free of any depression. People don't understand this, but medication, what medication does is it takes depression and puts it at a different level. But then after a while, it wears off. You go back to your doctor, and the doctor says, okay, we'll increase the dosage. And they keep increasing the dosage, or they add another supplement to it. With hypnotherapy, we're really getting to the main cause of what the problem is. You see, the subconscious controls everything in our life. Depression, anxiety disorders, even bad habits, and even things like cancer. It controls the immune system. And with the immune system, what it does is it helps build up the forces to fight cancer. But let's go back to depression. I give that as an example because it's very easy to address it. With depression, people have depression because of something that happened in the past, some major trauma they experienced. And what happens is that trauma turns into a subpersonality. A subpersonality within the subconscious now says, you know what, I want to protect you. I will help you. How did we get to the trauma? Some person or people may have caused this in the past, maybe at a young age, maybe when they were very young, maybe 6, 7, 8, or 9 years old, or abuse or something. And what this subpersonality is trying to do is take you away from it. So it triggers response where you're depressed. When you're depressed, you don't want to go out, you want to be a homebody. You want to stay home and do nothing. So what happens is, this goes on and on and on. But with hypnotherapy, what we can do is address that subpersonality specifically that's causing the behavior. And people are amazed at what we can do. But what we do is, once that person is in what we call the altered state, we put them into a trance, hypnotic state. And when we do that, what we're doing is we're shifting the conscious mind and moving it back and bringing forward the subconscious mind. At this point in time, we can speak to the subconscious, and what we do is we ask for that subpersonality. How do I do it? I ask the person to define what's wrong with them. They say, I'm always depressed. So at that point, I would say, I want to speak to that part of you that's causing you to be depressed. Always be depressed. On the count of 3, I want that part to come out and say, I am here. Then what happens is I count 1, 2, 3, and guess what? That part comes out and says, I'm here. And it amazes people because they say later, through my mouth, these words came out, but I wasn't saying it. So what happens, that part comes out, and I thank it. And what I do is I ask it to go back to the origin of its existence. See, and that's very crucial. Because we don't want to go one step at a time going backwards. We want to go back to the origin. Many psychologists, and my background is in psychology as well, my background tells me, you know, if you start at this end, it'll take forever to get to where it started. But with hypnotherapy, you can ask that subpersonality to go way, way, way back to the origin. And what happens is sometimes we go way back right away, and sometimes it makes stops. There might be some peaks where there are major trauma, and it stops there. So I say, let's go further if we can. Let's go back to the origin. And we keep on going until we hit a wall. And when we hit that wall, that means we can't go back any further. So that tells me that we're at the origin. And we're at the origin, that's where I want to be. So at that point in time, we find out what's going on. And many times, the individual, in most cases, will tell me what's going on. But I tell them I'm a spectator. And you're a spectator, you can describe what's going on. So they describe either abuse or something that happened in the past. Then what I do is I ask that part, I do certain things with that part, and some people may know what inner child work and forgiving is. Okay. The inner child work means you're working with a child, and here we are. In most cases, even if you're an adult, there's a child within you. We go all the way back to that child. And we do this forgiving. And that's exclusion. That's very important. Because you have to forgive those people who have hurt you. And what I do is I say, I want you to repeat after me. First of all, I say, you know I'm here to help you. Yes, okay. I want you to repeat after me. I want you to say, I forgive. And they say, I forgive all those people who have hurt me or betrayed me. Whether they did it intentionally or unintentionally, I forgive them. And what happens is, once they say that, they're done. They've forgiven everybody because they've been holding this for such a long, long time. And then I say to this sub-personality, and what I do is I say, for purposes of identification, what may I call you? You have a name. And before they can come out with a name, I say, you know, I have a great name for you. I'd like to call you Happy. So at this point in time, what I'm doing is I'm doing 180 degrees different than what they came in for. Now they're happy. So I say happy. What I'd like to do is now you see this, you've forgiven all those people. There's no need to hold on to it anymore. And before the session starts, I speak to that person and I ask them for 4 new behaviors. And we talk about 4 new behaviors that they would like to have instead of being depressed. Okay? So what would be the first new behavior? I would say, let's say the person's name is Michael. Make Michael happier, happy with life and happy with what they have in life. And a lot of depressed people think about suicide, and this prevents that. But what it also does is it makes them happy. Okay, so make them happy. This sub-personality, its new job is to make them happy. Now, let's talk about the second job, because we talked about 4 new jobs. The second job is, how about if we make Mike more outgoing and sociable? Depressed people don't like to go out, am I right? So what we're doing here is now we're making them more outgoing and sociable. And that's acceptable to them. Then I ask for some more new behaviors. So they say, you know what, it could have nothing to do with depression. How about I would say, how about if we make them more organized and focused? And they say, that's right, I need that. So I would say, make Michael more organized and focused. Is that acceptable to you? And it says yes. And then we have one more behavior, which it could be exercising more routinely or being more career-oriented. It could be a number of things. But we have 4 new behaviors. Now, once I say these 4 new behaviors, I say, are these 4 new behaviors now totally and completely accepted by you? It says yes. Do we have an agreement, a binding contract? Yes. So as of this 5th day, okay, or whatever day this is today the 7th, I think. Is it the 7th?
6th.
The 6th, okay, the 6th. As of the 6th day of May, do we have an agreement, a binding contract that you're now going to let go of all the depression, totally, completely, now and forever? And it says yes. So do we have a binding contract? Yes. So you see, now we have a contract with the sub-personality. Now, I go a little further. I say, okay, I want to make it more compelling for this sub-personality to do these new behaviors. So now it's going to be doing these new behaviors, but I want to make it more compelling. So I would ask the individual, I'd ask Michael, single Michael, give me one event in your life that made you feel great. Do you have any children?
Yes.
How about the birth of your first child?
Yeah.
Okay, what's her name?
Michael.
Oh, what? Okay, Michael, okay. I got it right. I got it right. But I didn't, I'm sorry, it was a male. Okay, Michael, okay. When did you feel that feeling? When you first held Michael or saw him?
When I first held him.
Okay, so when you first held him, how did you feel? And I've used one of these words, and I offer these words: great, wonderful, ecstatic, terrific, fantastic.
Ecstatic.
Okay, ecstatic. Okay, I see you from the Northeast.
Yeah.
You know, so am I from Brooklyn, originally Brooklyn, yeah. Many people, you know, I have an office in South Philly, you know, near Philly, in New Jersey. It's near Cherry Hill, I don't know if you know where that is. But over there, you know, when I say, what word would you like? And they go, ecstatic. They leave the ek out. But a lot of people in Philadelphia and South Jersey use the word ecstatic instead of, they also in Philadelphia use dentist. Who goes to a dentist? Anybody go to a dentist? I go to a dentist. Okay, but anyway, getting back to that, okay? So you're ecstatic, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you back, and right now he's hypnotized, and he's in an altered state, and I regress him. Regress him means I take him back to that event. And I have had fathers, all of a sudden, tears come down their eyes, because they're holding their son or daughter, Michael in this case, right? So I said, I'm going to count backwards from 5 to 1. When I reach 1, I want you to be there, holding Michael for the first time. And how did you feel? Ecstatic. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're there now. And then all of a sudden you're holding him in your arms, and here the tears come down. Okay, how do you feel? Ecstatic, that's right. What I'd like to do is I'd like to increase this feeling. I'm going to count from 1 to 5. Do you think we can double with each feeling? Can we double this feeling that you have with each one when I count from 1 to 5? Yes. Doubling 1. How do you feel?
Doubly ecstatic.
No, just say. You should come along with me to my thoughts. But anyway, how do you feel? Just add one word.
Great. My dad.
He feels great now. What's the word? Ecstatic, right?
Yeah.
You want ecstatic or great?
Ecstatic.
Okay. So we're going back to the holding Michael in your arms. How do you feel?
Ecstatic.
That's right. Let's double it. Doubling 2. How do you feel?
Ecstatic.
Doubling. Yell it out. 3.
Ecstatic.
Doubling 4. I have people yelling. And when they get to 5, and people in the waiting room are saying, what's going on? I'm leaving here. Doubling 5, how do you feel?
Ecstatic.
Okay, ecstatic. And now, anytime that you see the word, hear the word, or feel the word ecstatic, how are you going to feel? Ecstatic. Now, and when you make Michael, okay, whatever, what's your name?
Artie.
I don't want to use Michael again, because we're talking Michael, unless he's Michael Jr. Whenever you make Artie, okay, happy with life and happy with what he has in life, how are you going to feel?
Ecstatic.
So what I've done is I attach not the event, but the feeling of that event. See, once I attach that event to a word, and I use that word, I'm taking away the event. Not that I want to take it away, but I don't want you to keep on thinking of the birth of your child every day of your life. Okay? So I have that feeling. And I do it for the other 3 new behaviors. Now, once I've done all that, I make an agreement. I said, okay, so as of this day, we're now letting you go, and these are your new behaviors. Is that all acceptable to you? And you say, yes. And once you say yes, you've got a deal. Now, I go one step further. I want to make sure that there's no other subpersonality that's causing the same behavior. It might. So then I say, what I'd like to do is I want you to raise your right arm, and I have them raise their right arm, and I disassociate that arm from them. Their subconscious will be in complete control. So in other words, I would say, extend your arm. In a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 5. When I say the number 5, we're going to disassociate the arm, hand, and things from your body. You won't even feel it's there, but your subconscious will have full, complete control. Is that acceptable to you?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Disassociate. Now, once it's disassociated, I ask, is there any other part? And you can put it down. But people don't even feel their arm up because it's not part of their body anymore. So I would say, is there any other part of you that still wants to make Artie have depression? If there is, come on out now. And you see, so what I'm doing is I'm covering all my situations where I do have people who are, or subpersonalities that are causing depression. Then, after I have that, I say, now, I'm calling upon that positive part of you to come out. Everybody has a positive part. Even I have one. My wife doesn't think so, but I have a positive part too. That positive part is always there. So what I do is I take that positive part and I now empower that part to be the most powerful part in the universe. Its job is to resolve all remaining issues with these parts that still are causing depression, to resolve those parts. And when you've resolved all those problems with depression, then and only then may your arm come down. And what happens is, Artie would have his arm up. I don't have it up now. But what we would do is have it would lower by itself. And what happens is I'm out of the picture. Okay, it goes off sometime. I'm out of the picture, but what happens is the subconscious is now resolving all the internal conflicts and resolve in response to depression. And then once it comes down, I say, okay, have all the issues finally been resolved? And you would say,
Yes.
see how he works? He'd say yes.
I'm hypnotized.
So once he says, yes, we've done it, and then I take the person out, and there are a few other things I do in my session with hypnotherapy. But I've been doing this for almost 30 years. And I've been, as I mentioned before, I've been teaching all over the world. I'm the chairman of the medical and dental division of 2 national and international boards. One is in Canada, and one is here in the United States. And I teach medical hypnosis, and I enjoy it. And one of the reasons people ask me, why are you still doing this? I enjoy doing this. And I've worked with doctors in the villages. 2 doctors came to me to stop smoking. They couldn't stop on their own, so they came to me. Both of them stopped. My success rate with smoking is over 99% successful. These 2 doctors are sending so many people to me to stop smoking, it's incredible. But 70% of the people who come to me come on referrals. Other people have come to me in the past. I had a woman who came to me in New Jersey. She moved to Georgia, and she called me, and she was ready to go back to New Jersey to get more therapy on something else. So I said, I'm in the Villages, Florida. She says, you know what, I'm gonna come visit you. She drove up with her husband, and I did therapy with her. Her husband liked what I did. He said, I'd like to have a session too. So we had 2 people here at a session. But anyway, you know, hypnotherapy is just an inobtrusive way of correcting problems. There's no negative things that happen with hypnosis. People are still aware of what's going on. I can't make anybody do anything they don't want to do. Sometimes people say, well, I don't want anyone to control me. We're not. If someone wants to come to stop smoking, I ask them, why do you want to stop smoking? My wife wants me to stop. That's not a good reason. You have to know that if you don't stop, it's going to kill you. So that's what I expect from them. And I tell them that. And if they don't say that, then I tell them you're wasting your money and my time. And that's realistic. People who want help, hypnotherapy works. So at this point in time, I have questions. If anybody has any questions, I'll be very happy to answer any questions. Yes?
You're gonna laugh, but when you hypnotize people, is it one of those, like when I was a kid, we all hypnotized each other and we all pretended we did it? And you just, y'all know what I mean when you, are you doing that?
No.
Ah,
Let me say this, we can do that, okay?
that's not real?
No, it is real. It is real. I went to a restaurant once, and there's many ways of hypnotizing people. You can shock a person into hypnosis. Friends of ours, their son was with us at a restaurant, and we're standing on line, and he says, "Can you hypnotize me?" I said, "Right now?" He said, "Yes." So I said, I put out my hand like this, and I grabbed his hand, and I pulled him quick, and I said, "Sleep!" And he went, yes, yeah, but I don't do that. I did that because it was fun with him, because he was 18 or 19 years old, and I was messing with him, yes. But I teach that in class, but I tell everybody, I don't do that, okay? As a therapist, I don't want to do that. And with the pendulum, that can be done, you can. In one of my offices, both offices, I have something that goes around, and it's like a spin cycle, and you can look at it, and sometimes it slows down. And I'm talking to them, and I say, as you're watching this slow down, your eyes are going to close, and all of a sudden their eyes close. So yes, you can do that. But what I do is I have them right away, I have a recliner, they sit back on the recliner, they're very comfortable, and I say, just close your eyes, okay? When I start, I also make a recording of the session. Not all of it, but most of it. Because some parts I don't need. So they sit in the chair, and they close their eyes, okay? And I say, okay, now close your eyes, and I'll start recording. With your eyes closed, I want you to take a very deep breath. They take a deep breath in, and exhale. Take another deep breath. And then, as they exhale, I snap my fingers. And then because later on, I say, anytime you hear me snap my fingers, you need to go back into the hypnotic state. And at the end, when I do that, they're already hypnotized, and what the subconscious is taking what I'm saying as to be real. So later on, when they listen to the recording, and I say, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and I snap my fingers, they go right out. But I use what we call an induction. The induction says, it talks about relaxing every part of their body. I take them to a tropical island, And I talk about that. And it's about, maybe 5, 6, or 7 minutes of that induction. And it's very relaxing. People love it. So I'd rather do that than just go sleep and putting them into a deep state, because you can't record that. Okay? So you do a natural way, and people love it. And they say, that's the great, I listen to your CD all the time. I had one person who came to me, he calls me up, and he says, I came to you 7 years to stop smoking. I said, what happened? Did something happen? He said, no. He said, at the time, you gave me a cassette. This is going back many years ago. No CDs were available to record on. So he says, and it broke. Can you give me another one? He says, I love listening to it. I said, okay, I'll get you another one, okay? But typically, people like listening to it. So we have that induction, and during the induction, we put the main parts of the session onto that CD that a person will listen to, and they need that for reinforcement. And I ask that the person listen to it at least once a day. I have men, usually it's men, not women, but men, they come back and they say, I didn't get a chance in the whole week that they come back a week later. I didn't get a chance. I said, well, remember I told you 2 to 5 sessions? Figure on 10 to 15 sessions, and now they're thinking about the money aspect. I said, you need that reinforcement, because that reinforcement helps you help yourself. And that reinforces everything. I had 2 women come to me, both of them wanted to do 60 pounds each. Okay? They were doing so well. So I said to them, what are you guys doing? Each week they were losing 5 pounds. Okay? What are you guys doing? So she turns around to me and she says, Doc, we listen to your CDs 2, 3 times a day. Now, I don't tell people to do it 3 times a day. Not that I don't want you to. I say you can listen to it as many times as you want. But I want at least once a day. And I check this out. I have them call me in 2 days, and when they call me back, I say, have you been listening to the CD that I made for you? Yes. And then I also teach them self-hypnosis, how to hypnotize themselves. So with that, they are able to put themselves into that hypnotic state. And I tell them you can use that to be very helpful. That works well with also people who want to be relaxed and calm, or they have to go make a presentation. Okay? But I came in here today, I didn't have to. I was in such a rush that I was in altered state already. Okay? But many people who have to make some sort of speech, who have to make a talk in front of people, if they go outside before they go in, they just take 30 seconds, put themselves into a hypnotic state, but before they do, they say, I want to be energized and I want to be really motivated. And then they put themselves into the hypnotic state, and then 30 seconds later they come out and they're, wow, they're right in the zone. Okay, they do well. Athletes, okay, I work with athletes, believe it or not. I work with baseball players, and their batting average went up 5. And a friend of mine, Dr. Casper, back there, who does training and helps people exercise, a real different way of exercising. But anyway, he knows about my granddaughter. My granddaughter is one of the top ice hockey goalies in the country. She was recruited by the Philadelphia Flyers junior team to be their goalie, and she went there. Before when they were evaluating her, and I had hypnotized her many times to do real well. She's good, but it gave her that little bit more to be one of the best goalies in the country. She was inducted into the Canadian Hall of Fame. Not many people do that. And then also, there was a prep school, okay? It's Portsmouth Abbey. I don't know if anybody knows Portsmouth Abbey. They're in Rhode Island. They're one of the top prep schools in the country. The Kennedys went there, Vanderbilts, the Bushes went there, okay? And it's in Rhode Island. And she was recruited. She got a 95% scholarship. You know what the fee is every year? $79,000. Yeah. So she's going there, and and they recruited her. The coach, and I'm saying this because how hypnosis works. Not only works for helping people with depression and everything else, enhancement, sports enhancement, educational enhancement. And I can talk about education. I don't think anybody is going to prep school or anything over here or college. I think we're all through with that. But it helps, kids who are going through and helping them do much better. Okay? Yes?
Well, how often are you headed to Rhode Island to hypnotize her every week?
No, it was all done beforehand.
Okay.
She has a lot of CDs. She must have about 20 CDs of things that I've done for her. Not only with that, but with school. She made highest honors, and she's also doing that. The coach of Portsmouth Abbey wanted to get some good people. So he made a tournament for the top ice hockey players in the country. 8 teams. She was picked as one of them, okay? She was a goalie. After all the games were over, he goes over to my daughter and says, I want her. She has to go to Portsmouth. I'm gonna make sure she gets there. And he did. The inducements were incredible. To go to Rhode Island from New Jersey is almost a 5-hour drive, especially with traffic. So she's there now. Now, on the team that they had there, they had a junior and a senior goalie. She was a freshman. A freshman. So they figured she was going to play against the other two, and who would be best would be the leading goalie. She played. She became the leading goalie. And you know, first freshman ever be on the varsity team, and in the 92 years that school's been in existence, it's the first time they made the nationals in all private schools in the country. First year they ever made that because of my granddaughter. Am I right, Dr. Casper?
1000%.
They love her, you know. And let me say this is a Catholic school. She's one of 2 Jewish girls in that Catholic school. Now, they didn't know she was Jewish, you know, the people who were taking pictures, you know, during Easter.
Oh, yeah.
The school was saying, have a happy Easter, and the 2 Jewish girls were on the picture. Saying happy Easter to everybody. It was on the funny side. But, you know, it's with that sports enhancement, educational enhancement. My daughter, when she was a sophomore, and I'm just giving you these ideas of what hypnotherapy can do. My daughter was a sophomore, and the English teacher wanted the class to memorize Shakespeare, 100 words of Shakespeare. For 7 years, this teacher was giving this test to all the classes. Okay, she took the test. She came home. I said, "How did you do?" This is my daughter. "How'd you do?" She said, "I did." I said, "How do you?" So she says to me, "How do you think?" I said, "I think you did great." She said, "Well, I got 100." I said, "That's great." She says, "No, it's not." I said, "Why?" "Everybody in that class hates me." In the 7 years, the highest score on that test was a 70. A 70. It was a curve. Everybody who took the test would get automatic 30 points. But because of her, they took away 30 points, and half the class failed because of her. Okay? So, you know, so any time you say, wow. But it can enhance your ability to memorize, to store, and then not only to store them, but to recall them. You know, many times when I do hypnotherapy and I take people back, they might go back to when they were in the 4th grade. And I'll say, who's the teacher in front of you on a specific day? Oh, so-and-so. What are they wearing? And they'll tell me exactly what they were wearing. Who's to your right? And they'll tell me. Everything that's ever happened to anyone in this room is in your subconscious. It's there. And it's not to be taken away. So if you have hypnotherapy done, most likely you can recall certain things in your life and you can be amazed. Like going back to the birth of a child. People get emotional because they're right there and they say to me, I can't believe it. I was right there again. So did I answer your question?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yes?
Is it a misnomer that ADHD is basically a person that has psychology in my family? It drives me nuts.
You know, my philosophy is, and my wife's philosophy is, and my wife was a superintendent of schools, okay, and she was an assistant superintendent in New York City for many years, but we don't believe there's such thing as ADHD, okay? No thing. What happens is, ADHD occurs because the subconscious says, I'm not getting enough attention. So how do I make that child, or myself, or the person that they're trying to help, get more attention? By causing them to have some of the hyperactive activities or the ADHD type of symptoms. But in every case, anyone who has ADHD who came to me, the school would say, what happened? Your child is no longer ADHD. What did you do? Did you give them some sort of medication? No. So yeah, you're right. We're on the same plane. Yes?
Have you ever worked on patients that have dementia or Alzheimer's?
You know, I've had people with slight dementia and I've helped them, but I haven't had a lot. I haven't had many, I could say. But I can give you an example of something that I discovered. This is about 4 or 5 years ago. I had a woman call me up and says to me, my daughter has trichotillomania. Trichotillomania is pulling out their hair. Can you do that? Correct it. I said, yes, I can. I've done it many times. I've been 100% successful. Good. All right. She said, but I got to tell you one thing. I said, what? My daughter, okay, she has Down syndrome. Even though she's 19, she acts like a 7-year-old. I said, okay, all right. So I said, come on in, let's see what we can do. Okay? So she's in the waiting room. She comes in the waiting room with her mother and father there, and I'm talking to her, and I saw first of all, she's likable. I started talking to her, and I was very nice to her, and she started liking me a lot. And I saw she's very, very suggestible. In my head, I'm saying, should I treat her like a child or an adult? Because at the age, even 7, it depends on which way you want to go. Something told me, treat her like an adult. I said, okay. Brought her into the room, hypnotized her very easily. I think within a couple of minutes, she was in a very deep, deep state. Okay, but I still went through my induction because I made a recording and I wanted her to listen to the recording. I say, on a count of 3, I want that positive part of you to come out, and on a count of 3 to say, I am here. And I count 1, 2, 3, and she comes out and she says, I'm here. How are we going to help her? I almost fell off my chair. Here is a Down syndrome girl talking like a 19-year-old. What was my discovery? My discovery was the chromosome defect affected the conscious mind, not the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind was a 19-year-old. And her mother says to me, I knew there was something in her head besides the Down syndrome young child. So I said to the subpersonality, I want you to work with her to increase her vocabulary and be able to help her with speech and everything else. And then she had a younger brother who was teaching her with words and everything else. The school was amazed. All of a sudden, she's increasing her IQ. And that was a discovery that I made about 5, 6, or 7 years ago. I'm not sure. And I brought it to a convention, and I brought it to everybody's mind. But it also works for autism. Autism the same way. There is a subpersonality or subconscious part that's there that is age equivalent, that doesn't have these symptomatic defects, and it could be corrected. So anyway, did I answer your question? Okay, what was it?
Did she stop pulling her hair?
Oh, yes, she stopped pulling her hair. Okay. Now, what was the question you asked
What
again?
was about dementia outside?
Well, again, you know, I wish I would say I had research on that, but, you know, how many people come to me with dementia, whatever. I help people improve their memory who don't have dementia, and it works very, very well. And I tell people this, you know, as we grow older, I say as we grow older, I'm 74, and what happens is, as we get older, things that used to be very important to them when they were younger, not important anymore. Am I right? There are other things that are more important. And money things, they matter, but not to the extent that they did when you were younger. So I say, your subconscious says, you know what, I don't need all that garbage. And that's when it starts putting that away. But everything is still in the memory. Okay, so, you know, it's neither here nor there. Yeah?
I don't remember my dreams, and I'm always kind of envious of people that have all these amazing dreams. Is that something that you can help people with remembering their dreams?
Yes. Mm-hmm. People remember dreams, and when I bring someone back, if I would bring back to an incident where they had trauma, and for like 30, 40 years, they never remembered that incident. All of a sudden, I take them back, and it's like a TV screen right in front of them. They remember it now. When they come out of hypnosis, they don't have an erase. They remember it because it happened, and they get to see it. So yes, you can remember, you know, dreams if you want to. Whether it's important or not, usually good dreams are things that you don't remember. It's the bad dreams that you remember and you say, wow. Okay? But dreams are there to sometimes help you. Help you get answers. Okay? Did I answer your question? Yeah. That's you.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I should have asked this question a bit sooner, but I was, very interested in something like that. What about seasonal affective disorder?
What kind of disorder?
Seasonal affective disorder. Now, that would have to do with you know, lacking sunlight, I understand. So are people in certain parts of the world more susceptible to that?
Let me explain something. I've dealt with people with Parkinson's, okay? And it's something that you think that they've inherited or something that they've come across, okay? That could be corrected. But I work with people with Parkinson's, and, you know, and they walk around like this. My success is over 98% successful. I've done hundreds of cases so far. But, you know, I had one case where I think they were fighting it. But what happens is, when I'm speaking to the subconscious, I don't tell it how to do it. I say, I want you to let go of the trembling, let go. And what it does is it reroutes all the synapses in the brain, because part of the brain might be defective in some way or injured. So what happens is you start having the trembling. But what it does is it reroutes, and then all of a sudden the trembling stops. And it's amazing. I've been before people, and I've shown this, and it works great. So if it works for that, it also works for seasonal, you know, what you have when you have the sun and you have that feeling.
Lack of sunlight.
That, you know, they say that the brain is the largest pharmaceutical in the world. It will give the body whatever it needs to get over what they're encountering. So with the seasonal problems, yes, that can be controlled.
So I have people in the, you know, the colder climates are more susceptible, you know, to depression because of lack of sunlight. But you don't.
It could be corrected. You know,
It could
it's...
be corrected with hypnotherapy?
Yes. Again, now, hypnotherapy is just a means. It's a way of getting from one place to another. If I could speak to the subconscious by just going like this, you know what they would call me? A stack finger therapist. But I use hypnosis, so that's why they call me a hypnotherapist or a hypnotist. It's how you get there. But once you get to the subconscious controls everything in your life. Your immune system. I've had people come to me who would get a cut, and that cut would take 2 weeks to heal. After having a session with hypnotherapy, all of a sudden, in 3 to 4 days, it's the same type of cut would be healed completely. What we do is we ask the immune system to work much harder, to do a much better job of doing whatever has to be done. And it does it. It just does it. Again, I don't know how or why, it just does it. Yes?
Have you been working with people suffering from long COVID?
COVID?
Long term.
Long COVID. You know, I have something that I give out in my sessions. You know, it's a CD. It's a session that I have where I address the COVID. I address the immune system. It's called immune system healing, or immune system and respiratory healing. When you have COVID, what happens is salt builds up in your lungs. That's why people can't breathe. It's you know, if you have a CAT scan, they can see the salt particles in the lungs. And what happens is you want the immune system to start clearing out the lungs. Now, I made that specifically for COVID. What happens is people have COVID, and this has helped them tremendously. And yes, it can, but it's like anything else. You know what my recommendation is? Number 1, get inoculated. Number 2, get a booster. And if you've had COVID before, all you need is maybe inoculation and 1 booster, and you're fine because you've been covered. Once you have, you know, right now, 98% of the people who are in the hospitals dying are people who are not inoculated. So I always recommend get inoculated, because you don't want to be one of those 98% people who die. Not necessary. So I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
2 questions. One, do you remember everything?
Yes.
About the hypnosis?
Yes.
And the other one is, do you usually pass out aggression?
Yes, I do.
What was that? I couldn't hear it.
He wants to know, first of all, does everybody remember what happens during the session? Yes. Number 2, he asked about past life regression. I teach it, and I do it, okay? I started many, many years ago. But in my session, people say, I have a problem and maybe I had it in a past life. But here's the trick. When I deal with anybody, I say to them, let's go back to the origin of the existence of this problem. If it was in a past life, we would automatically go there. And I've had that. How often does it happen? Maybe 1 to 2% of the time. Maybe 1 or 2%. It happens, but if people come to me where they say, I just want to know what happened. I'd like to do past life regression. And they say, I believe in it, but I want to see it happen. And I've done that. Yeah. I don't publicize it, but I do that. But I had, you. Yes.
Since you mentioned Parkinson's, what is it that you're treating? Is it just specifically the tremors or anything else?
Anything that has to do with Parkinson's. I let the person tell me that they have Parkinson's and what it's affecting. And then I just repeat whatever they say, and we speak to that subpersonality. Again, it's a subpersonality that's actually causing that behavior. And that's where we go back to the origin, and we clear it up, and then we go from there. And then give it new behaviors where they'll be now calm and relaxed in every situation, minus any type of tremors or trembling. Okay. Yes?
How do you feel when your mind that never shuts off? How do you hypnotize somebody that can't concentrate for 2 seconds? Meditate.
In my practice, which is almost 30 years, everybody can be hypnotized. It really depends on what I have to do, depending on the individual. I think I'm being rushed off, but anyway, people have problems with insomnia, they can't go to sleep. Once they hypnotize, they say, I sleep so much better now. It's incredible. So that's what I would say. Okay, if anybody wants some information, I do have handouts, I have business cards if you're interested, or if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. Okay, after I'll be very happy to answer any questions. I don't want to take it any more
No,
time.
that's fine, if there's more questions.
Okay,
Yeah, well, we have, yeah, so if there's more questions, that's fine.
okay, yes,
I have food sensitivity. Can you help me?
you have sense.
Food sensitivity.
Food sensitivity, yes. We can do that, but also I have certain people come to me because they get migraine headaches. But there might be some certain foods that affect you that we can help you. We can for sensitivity. Everybody is different. When it comes to food sensitivity, that I can either stop a person from eating certain foods that cause that sensitivity, or help them with sensitivity. But that really depends on the person. Okay? I've worked with people who want to get away from certain foods or are allergic to foods we can't keep them away from. That's what I've done. Okay. Yeah.
Hi, can you help someone with claustrophobia, obsessive compulsive, or gambling? I'm asking for like 3 different people.
Yes. Obsessive compulsive behaviors, yes. OCD, I do that all the time. I usually say 2 to 5 sessions, but when it comes to OCD, sometimes it will probably go to the 4 or 5, or maybe a 6 session. It depends. Sometimes people with OCD come and they only need 2 or 3 sessions, but most likely it's more. And what were the other?
Claustrophobia.
Claustrophobia, I've done that many, many times. Again, that's something where the subpersonality is protecting them. And when I say protecting them, something must have happened. And what it's doing is it's saying, I don't want to be in an area where I'm enclosed. It happens with a lot of people who say, I have a fear of elevators. Okay? I take them back to the time where that it occurred. And you know what? It wasn't an elevator. When they were younger, their siblings locked them up in a closet. And what happens is when they go into an elevator, the subconscious or the subpersonality says, we're in a closet again, get me out of here. So yes, I do people with claustrophobia for many, many different reasons. But then again, I don't have to know the reason. I just go back to the origin, and at the origin, we're able to neutralize that effect. And what was the third one?
Gambling, but I think that's the same as
Gambling, I do gambling, I do addictions. I've had one of the top soap opera actresses in New York City. I had an office in the Villages in New York City. Came to me 25 years ago, she had a cocaine habit. Came to me in 3 sessions, completely gone. 10 years later, she calls me and she says, thank you very much. I haven't had any drugs at all in the last 10 years because of you. So yes, I've had that. And this is a very, very famous star.
So alcoholism then too?
Alcoholism also. You know, I've had a lot of professionals, dentists, doctors, who have problems with alcohol addiction. I just had the other day a second session with someone who has an alcohol addiction. After the first session, he says, I'm not even craving it. He says, it was offered to me and I didn't even want it. And so it's a 3-session program for gambling, for alcohol and drug addictions. And I work with drug addictions as well. And it's amazing. Some people have, heroin, the withdrawals. When they have hypnotherapy, there's no withdrawals. It's amazing. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes?
Does any insurance cover this, or is it all out of pocket?
Typically, no. Typically, no. I've had in the past one company with 4 people, and one person got 100% back, another person got 80% back, another person got 50% back, and another person got 0. It really depends on, what you're covered for. But in most cases, and I would say probably 90% of the cases, they don't cover hypnotherapy. I don't know why, but they just don't.
If it's for mental reasons that you're going though, it could be like most insurance, well, a lot, I don't know.
Again,
like 50%
yes,
coverage.
it'll depend.
Comes under the medical.
And
or
anything
mental.
that's mental, like depression, anxiety disorders, schizophrenia, you need a doctor's note
Right.
or a licensed therapist note. In Florida, New Jersey, every state in the country, it's a requirement. Because hypnotherapy, many of the licensed psychologists were upset that hypnotherapists were treating people and correcting the problems in very few sessions. 2 to 5 sessions. It's a money aspect, yes. So it really depends. Okay. Any other questions? If you have any questions or private questions you want to ask after, I'll be very happy to answer them. And thank you very much, and I apologize again. Okay, one question.
Is there anything hypnotherapy won't help?
That's a good question.
I haven't come across it yet. It helps in every way. It relaxes you, and it does so many things with sports enhancement, educational enhancement. My daughter, she also got on a scholarship. Not that she's dumb, but we help improve things so they're much better. She's a lawyer, and I remember when she was in law school, she was having problems. She was the youngest one in the class. She had skipped a year. She was the youngest one in the class in Seton Hall, which is a law school, Seton Hall Law School, and she had to argue an oral argument in front of 5 judges, and it was a class of 15. So she was having problems, so I worked with her, and I told her she'll be enthusiastic and she'll be able to remember everything that she has to give out in this oral argument. In the class, she came out number 2. She got an A+ in the class. So there are things that we can do. I haven't come across anything we can. But it really depends on the individual. If they don't want to be hypnotized, and I've had young children who are anorexic. In most cases, if they want help, it'll work. But I've had cases where the young ladies, and it's usually females, would say, I don't want to stop. I'm happy with this. Really? So I tell the parents, it's not going to work. And it doesn't work. So in cases, it's up to the individual. I had a young lady who came to me who had major depression, major anxiety disorder. In 2 sessions, it was all gone, which was great. 2 sessions. Usually, and this is major depression. She had a male cousin who had maybe 10% of what she had. It took him 5 sessions to get to the same place that took her 2. It depends on the individual. He probably, male to male, he didn't want to give over control. He maybe thought he was losing control, but it took 5 sessions. And it really depends on the individual.
I want to ask you something. This is crazy. Have you ever had a colleague hypnotize you? And have you ever hypnotized your wife?
Yes.
Yes to which?
Both of them. I teach, And there are many times where I teach a students and going for many years, I've been doing things with hypnosis with my wife. My wife is also a hypnotherapist, even though she's an educator and was a superintendent of schools in New York, New Jersey. She's a hypnotherapist too. But I do all the work now. She stays home. She, at one time when she was in Newark, and she was, had 1,000 people reporting to her. Now that she's retired, she only has one person reporting to her, and that's me.
I can imagine.
You can imagine, yes. So, that's how that happens.
Tell us about you being hypnotized. I'm
Yeah.
calling you.
So I do classes, and because I've been hypnotized many times, and it could be by watching a DVD or having people do this, like my wife or someone do it for me, on me. It's kind of hard. Even if you're the best brain surgeon in the world, you can't perform brain surgery on yourself. I'm not saying I'm the best in the world, pretty close to it. Okay, but anyway, I've had that. So one time I had a class of about 12 people. It was a small class, or 13 people. And what I do is I match them up in groups of 3. Well, what happens, there was a shortage there, so I let one of the students hypnotize me. So I'm there, and I go, I'm out. And he's going, I can't believe it! I hypnotized Dr. Feldman, I did it! So yes, I can be hypnotized. Really. Right now, I listen, remember that CD that I was telling everybody about? I listen to that same CD, I listen to it, my wife and I listen to it. Within 10 seconds, I'm gone. The next thing I remember is waking up in the morning. That's because I listen to it when I go to sleep. If I listen to it during the day, I come out of it when I'm finished. But if I'm going to sleep, within 10 seconds, I'm gone. Other people say, I can't believe it. I'm listening to you, and then all of a sudden, I'm gone, and I don't remember what you said. But it doesn't matter. The subconscious hears everything that you say. A quick story, I had something very bad happen to me in 2014. I had what they call bacterial endocarditis. A bacteria entered my body, and it actually almost killed me. I died 3 times, and they brought me back. Okay? This bacteria was fatal to the heart. It would go to the heart and make holes in the heart. So they had to patch me up. So I had died 3 times, they brought me back, and I went from one hospital, and they airlifted me to New York Presbyterian Hospital in New York City, where it's one of the major heart hospitals in the world, and they worked on me. I was in a coma for 12 days, and my wife was doing hypnosis on me for those 12 days, and the doctors thought she was crazy. They said, he's not responding. She said, yes, he does. Show us. So she says, I want you to move your thumb on your left hand. And my thumb went like this. So they said, that was just, something that happened, Have him move his large toe on his left foot. Now, I'm not going to tell you what she said, but she said some words. She said, I want you to move your toe on your left foot. That's how she spoke. And my toe went like this. At that point in time, they said, and you know what? They took her around on rounds. They put her in a white coat, and they took her around. She has a doctorate also. They took her around, and they were asking her questions about how can we help this individual, and they were asking her things that we could do. I ended up going to rehab, to NYU rehab in New York City, and I spent, they were supposed to take me for 2 weeks. They took me for 3 weeks. I was doing so well. When I finished, I said, how long will it take me to get back to normal, like I am right now? They said, it's going to take you a year. With hypnosis and everything else, in 3 months, I was teaching full-time, and I was teaching in Japan. When I went to Japan, they said, we want a doctor's note saying it's okay for you to go on a plane and teach in Japan. When I got there and I was teaching, they said, boy, you have more energy than you had before. I said, well, thanks. I do have a pacemaker defibrillator, and it's been changed one time already, I'm the mechanical man right now. People say, you went through that? Yes. When you're in bed and tied down for 3 days, you lose control of your muscles. Muscle atrophy. I was in bed for 12 days tied down. When I was coming out, I had tubes down my throat, and I'm aware, and I'm saying to my wife, so she said, tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow comes, it's still in there. All the tubes, I had like a Christmas tree of IVs going into me, and my mouth was going in to help me breathe. Second day, the third day, I'm going, finally they took it out, but meanwhile, they're telling, before I came out of my coma, the doctors are telling my wife, I'm not sure he's gonna be 100% back again. He might have a problem walking, invalid, he might not have cognition, I think I have cognition, I can understand it. I reason quite well. So they said that, and when I came out, doctors came to me. One doctor says, do you know what today is? I said, I have no idea. I've been here for a long time, but I don't know. So they told me, okay, all right. Do you know who the President of the United States is? And I said, yes, Barack Obama. That's when Barack Obama was president. I said, do you know how much 2 and 2 is? I said, yeah, 4. Okay. Can you do this? I said, yes. I showed him, okay. All right, and he walks away. Another doctor comes in, within a couple minutes, and he asks me the same exact questions. So I gave him the same exact answers. A third doctor came in because they couldn't believe that I was doing so well. So this time when he says, who's the President of the United States? I'm saying to myself, I want to tell him Ronald Reagan. Then I'm saying, here's my cognition, I'm saying, no, if I say that, they'll really think I'm crazy. So I said, no, Barack Obama. But, so even if you're in a coma, hypnotherapy can reach the subconscious. Even if you're sleeping, I mentioned a very bad state, that's being in a coma, but even if you're sleeping, it does go to your subconscious mind if you're being hypnotized or someone's talking to you. Now, if you have any husbands there and you want things done, just tell your husband while they're sleeping what to do. But you have to put it in a way where you make them think that they're doing it on their own. Because remember, you cannot be made to do anything you don't want to do.
You wanted to wash the dishes.
CD that we can play to them every night.
I had a woman who came to me, okay, for weight loss. Now, and she didn't come to me, she came to a colleague of mine, and he's telling me the story. He says she bought the CD, and she was losing weight, okay? And meanwhile, she would put on the CD when her husband would be asleep. All of a sudden, weeks go by, and the husband says to the wife, and the wife calls up my colleague and says, what should I do? The husband says, I don't know, I gotta go see a doctor, I'm losing weight. He says, I can't control it, I'm just losing weight. So she says, what should I do? So my colleague says, tell her, tell him, tell him that, you've been listening to a CD that's on weight loss. And that's why CDs work very, very well, as you can tell, just from a CD.
It's so funny.
I do say some funny things, but they're all true.
I know.
They're all true. I could go here all day and tell you stories, and you'd be amazed at what goes on with people. Certain things. I have a couple of offices. In one office, I have a office in my home in New Jersey, and my granddaughter is home from school, and she's in her room on the other end of the house. And I had one person. I said, on a count of 5, I want you to yell. So it was a woman, and all of a sudden she starts screaming. She calls up my wife and says, "What's going on down there?" But anyway, he didn't be right back. Okay. All right. Thank you.